What's good, fam? It is time to talk about how Drake just caught a 3-hour forensic audit on live air. These findings pretty much prove his whole 2026 comeback is a house of cards built on bot farms and cooked spreadsheets. On July 12th, 2026, Charlamagne the God and DJ Akademiks spent 3 hours arguing over a leaked investigation report that has the entire industry looking at the boy sideways.
And the question the culture is asking right now, the question everybody from DJ Akademiks to Joe Budden to every barbershop from Compton to Toronto is debating is, did it work? Real recognize real, fam. The man sat back, let Drake and Cole do all the talking, and then dropped Euphoria, Meet the Grams, and Not Like Us, back to back to back, and turned Aubrey Graham from the biggest rapper alive into the most roasted man in the music industry.
Their conversation was way more than just another podcast debate about who has the better flow. Financial analyst Eric Jackson actually stepped in to break down the business filings and streaming metrics behind the Iceman rollout. Charlamagne used this report as hard evidence that Drake's current chart dominance is completely fraudulent and lacks any real organic support from the people actually living the hip-hop lifestyle. The data suggests that while Drake is sitting at #1 on the charts, his reputation is being systematically dismantled through a process of media laundering that chooses corporate partnerships over real fans. A major shift is happening for the culture because it is the first time major industry figures have openly questioned the validity of his record-breaking statistics from 2026. Akademiks was clearly struggling to keep.
And the question the culture is asking right now, the question everybody from DJ Akademiks to Joe Budden to every barbershop from Compton to Toronto is debating is, did it work? Real recognize real, fam. So now you've heard all of it laid out. Every bar Drake threw at Kendrick Lamar across 3 albums and 43 songs.
Keep his favorite artist's narrative alive while Charlamagne dismantled the idea that numbers always equal success. This report makes it look like the OVO camp is playing a numbers game in a corporate boardroom instead of making music that actually resonates in the streets. When you have a financial analyst like Eric Jackson digging into your business filings, you know the game has shifted from rap battles to high-stakes financial scrutiny. Charlamagne is arguing that the industry is essentially propping up a ghost, and the data in this leaked report gives a lot of weight to that specific theory. We are seeing a shift where having the most streams does not mean you have the most respect, and that is a dangerous place for a guy who built his entire brand on being the biggest artist in the world.
First shot on Make Them Pay, Drake goes, damn, who is this guy for real? I guess a magician. 100 million streams vanished. No one got questions for odds.
Specific details in the report show how the Iceman rollout used complicated business filings to create a feedback loop that makes a mediocre album look like a global phenomenon. Looking at those numbers, we have to talk about the massive backfire from his triple album drop that happened on May 15, 2026. Drake became the first artist in history to hold the top 3 Billboard 200 spots simultaneously with Iceman, Habibti, and Maid of Honor. On the surface, that sounds like an undisputed victory, but the reality on the ground tells a much different story of metric fatigue. Even though Iceman spent 7 full weeks at the top of the charts, the streets are widely calling the project a mass-produced cope instead of a classic hip-hop album.
Then he revealed at the end of the stream that he wasn't dropping 1 album. He was dropping 3, all at midnight, 43 songs, Iceman, Maid of Honor, and Habibti.
It feels like Drake is trying to drown out the noise of his previous losses by flooding the market with so much content that we have no choice but to see his name everywhere. The sheer volume of music he released in 2026 seems designed to overwhelm the charts rather than provide any lasting quality for the listeners. The lead single, Janice STFU, even managed to surpass Michael Jackson's legendary record by becoming Drake's 14th #1 hit, but the track is being mocked across every social media platform. People are tired of the managed savior disses and the constant subliminals that feel like they were written by a committee of branding experts rather than a solo artist.
Some guilt, that's how your soul get fulfilled. This little sequence of bars has had the internet having the most outlandish discussions about Drake and about white hip-hop content creators for the last week.
On it, Drake dissed Kendrick's height, comparing him to Muggsy Bogues. He came at LeBron. He came at Dr. Dre. The whole thing was Drake in wartime mode, talking his business to anyone who was listening.
Drake even decided to take shots at Jay-Z on the album regarding that tired $500,000 or dinner debate, which was a huge mistake. That move completely alienated the older hip-hop heads and the industry gatekeepers who actually value the history and the legends of the genre. Jay-Z represents a level of status that Drake is clearly desperate to reach, but taking shots at a legend over a meme just makes him look out of touch with what the culture actually cares about. My take on this whole situation is that Drake is successfully winning the spreadsheet war while he is clearly losing the culture war. His numbers no longer feel like moments that define our lives because they just feel like data points on a screen intended to satisfy corporate investors.
But here's the thing about this specific battlefield. It's not just about rapping well, it's about narrative. And the narrative Drake is fighting right now is so deep in Kendrick's favor that even good bars can't fully dig him out.
When every song is a manufactured attempt to break a record, the music loses the soul that made us fans in the first place. He is sitting on a throne made of numbers, but the ground underneath him is shifting as the industry begins to realize that stats can be bought while culture relevance must be earned. We are watching the beginning of a narrative shift where the boy is being reframed as a corporate product rather than a hip-hop artist. This strategy of flooding the zone with content is clearly backfiring because it makes every new achievement feel less impressive and more like an automated process. This desperation is hitting a peak in the courtroom because the legal system is practically laughing in his face right now. Drake is currently fighting to appeal that October 9th, 2025 dismissal of his defamation lawsuit against UMG regarding the song Not Like Us, but the legal community thinks his arguments are a comedy routine.
He filed a defamation lawsuit against Universal Music Group, his own label, for the way they promoted Not Like Us. He wasn't suing Kendrick, he was suing the machine.
Damn, you going so far as to call a brother, damn near call a brother a pedophile like Kendrick Lamar did with Drake. Hell, you could be talking lawsuit.
In May of 2026, some of the most respected scholars at Yale Law School filed a brief that completely destroyed his entire strategy. They used a concept called the boxer analogy to explain why his case is total shit and has no business being in front of a judge. These scholars argued that Drake is like a boxer who stepped into the ring, got knocked out clean, and then tried to sue for battery after waking up on the canvas. The logic is that by entering a rap battle, you give your consent to be verbally injured, so you cannot go crying to a court about defamation after losing the fight. It is pathetic to see a grown man who claims to be the greatest trying to use the legal system to fix a loss that he took in the streets. Before we move on and see how Drake is apparently catching mental anguish over Kendrick headlining the Super Bowl, tell me what y'all think. Is suing for battery after losing a rap fight the most desperate move the boy has ever made?
Here's the real tea though. That lawsuit got dismissed in October 2025. Drake's still appealing, but legally he's 0 for 1 on that front. So going into 2026, Drake had one move left.
Tell me in the comments. No cap. While you at it, like and subscribe. Let's continue. The brief even highlights how ridiculous it is for Drake to claim he suffered mental anguish over Kendrick Lamar performing at Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. This legal perspective has turned the boy into the massive punchline among lawyers and judges because that 117-page appeal looks like pure desperation. He is essentially trying to sue Kendrick for being better at his job, and that logic simply will not hold up in a court of law. While Drake is busy filing paperwork and crying to his lawyers, Kendrick Lamar has been moving like a ghost, which is the most savage move he could possibly make. Kendrick has stayed completely silent since the triple album drop, and that mirrors the surgical way he handled the beef back in 2024. He does not need to post on social media to stay relevant because his real-world numbers are doing all the talking. The Grand National Tour Kendrick went on with SZA just wrapped up with a total gross of $358,700,000. That is a staggering amount of money that proves his demand is real.
Episode 4 was where he previewed lyrics, burned down what appeared to be a bot farm on camera, referencing allegations that Kendrick's streaming numbers for Not Like Us were artificially inflated, and teased bars that the internet immediately decoded as shots at
You cannot use bot farms to fill up stadiums, and you certainly cannot fake $300 million in ticket sales from actual people who showed up in person. This success shows the difference between streaming metrics that can be manipulated and a cultural movement that people are willing to pay for. While Drake was busy celebrating Take Care, hitting 520 weeks on the charts back on July 12, 2026, the general consensus is that he cannot move the needle anymore. Nobody cares about what you did 10 years ago when you are currently getting outclassed on every single front. Kendrick swept the Grammys in February of 2026 by taking home 5 awards, including Record and Song of the Year for Not Like Us. That was the final confirmation that the industry has chosen its winner. We are all just waiting for Kendrick to break his silence, and insiders are already whispering about a final project that will target the business ethics and fake metrics of OVO. Kendrick is playing chess while Drake is struggling to understand the rules of checkers, and the end result will be a total cultural eviction for that brand.
After platforming and being openly associated with these individuals, would it not be reasonable for someone to believe that Drake, who last did an interview with a black face in front of him in 2019 when he thought he could still get some real estate and some footing with black culture, is now trying to gain cultural currency not with black folks, but with these white platforms?
You can see how far Drake has fallen by looking at the biggest stages in the world, because the NFL is officially treating him like he has the plague. On July 13, 2026, the betting odds for the Super Bowl 61 halftime show at SoFi Stadium listed Drake as a massive long shot at plus 880. This is a guy who used to be a lock for these conversations, but now he is being outpaced by pop stars who do not even have his historic chart success. Miley Cyrus and Justin Bieber are currently the heavy favorites at plus 300, which is a clear signal that the NFL is avoiding Drake after the 2025 Kendrick Lamar controversy in New Orleans. The league saw the way the culture rallied around Kendrick, and they realized that backing the boy is a losing bet in the current climate. There is a desperate group of fans circulating a petition right now to get Drake to headline, but the industry consensus is that he is currently radioactive. Nobody wants to touch a brand that is being investigated for metric fraud and financial manipulation, while his legal team is being mocked by Ivy League scholars. The Super Bowl is about universal appeal and cultural unity, and right now Drake represents the exact opposite of that shit, because he is stuck in a cycle of negativity and manufactured wins.
Every single one of those bars is a reference back to the beef that Drake publicly lost. When you're the one who won, you stop talking about the fight. When you're the one who's still wounded, you keep bringing it up.
Before we see how this financial scrutiny dismantles the OVO empire, tell me if you think Drake can recover his reputation, or if this fraud narrative is the final nail. Drop your thoughts in the comments, because we are keeping it real with no cap. So hit that like and subscribe button while you are down there. Let's get back into it, because the details in this investigation are starting to look like a serious problem for the boy. The report Charlamagne and akademiks were arguing over is much more than a random internet rumor. This is the start of a new level of pressure for Drake, and we are watching legal tactics from the YSL and Diddy trials get pointed at OVO. Once analysts start tearing through your streaming data and business filings, you are not just a rapper having a rough week anymore. You are a corporate target under a microscope, and if the foundation is as shaky as these reports claim, the entire building is going to collapse.
Take care. Nothing was the same. If you're reading this, it's too late. Views. The run from 2010 to 2018, undeniable, historic, top 10 albums of a generation type legacy. Let me keep it 100 with y'all right now. Drake is talented. I'm not gonna sit here and disrespect the body of work this man built.
Drake reached his absolute peak with that 14th #1 hit, and everything we have seen since then is just a slow slide into being irrelevant. The streets already chose Kendrick for his real-world dominance, and the history books will eventually show that Drake's numbers were nothing but a spreadsheet illusion. You cannot just outstream a fraud narrative with another mid-triple album. This is the start of his permanent cultural eviction, because hip-hop is built on authenticity, and once the culture decides you are fake, no amount of money can save you. No amount of bot farms can buy your way back into the heart of the culture.